Sometimes the most unexpected mysteries don't come from the depths of the unknown, but from the creatures that have lived among us for centuries. Imagine a quiet village, a familiar river, and a predator so feared that people know to keep their distance. But what happens when that predator isn't behaving as it should? When something feels off? Welcome, and settle in for a story that begins with a single unsettling sight, one that would lead to a discovery no one could have predicted. This is the incredible tale of a giant crocodile, a village on edge, and the man who dared to get closer. When a giant crocodile shows up near a small town in Sudan, the villagers quickly determine that something is wrong with it. It is moving extremely slowly, and its belly looks unnatural. In an attempt to save it, the animal is cut open, revealing the contents of its stomach. But once exposed, nobody can believe what is inside. How did the crocodile even find this in the middle of nowhere? Michael's heart is beating in his chest as he slowly approaches the giant crocodile. He knows he is supposed to be the brave one, but he can barely contain his nerves. One wrong move, and this could be the end of his story. But Michael knows what he has to do. He wants to save this animal. With surgical precision, the stomach of the crocodile is sliced open, after which its contents are immediately on display. Michael's jaw drops to the floor. How is this possible? But is Michael in time to save the giant crocodile? What did he find inside of it? And why did he even feel the need to try and save this dangerous creature? In the muddy rivers of the Nile, crocodiles are not an uncommon sight. They have been living here for many years. These apex predators patrol the waters, looking for their next meal, and locals are in a constant battle of survival with these extremely dangerous animals. Oftentimes, they avoid each other as much as possible. Children of local villagers are taught from an early age to stay away from areas where crocodiles are most likely to be. Nothing good can come from a face-to-face confrontation. At least that is what everybody always assumes. Michael is a 38-year-old man who has lived in a small village in Sudan all his life. This is also the place where he met his wife, with whom he started a family. The village is close to the Nile River, and Michael's family has a small farm on which they can produce enough food to sustain themselves almost 3 times over. Michael is perceived as an amazing person by the villagers, but he also has a reputation for another noteworthy personality trait: his fearlessness. His family in particular knows this better than anyone. Most of the time, Michael is successful in his actions, and the town loves him for it. You could almost say he is their unofficial leader. That is why, when this particular situation arises, they all turn to Michael to decide what to do next. Even though the small village is close to the Nile, they do not have to deal with threats from the water, like crocodiles or hippopotamuses often. These animals mostly stay in the river. The villagers also know they should not come too close to certain stretches of the river. In this way, they avoid danger until today. One of these dangerous creatures has ventured beyond the riverbed. This has never happened since Michael has lived in the village. That the animal has come out of the river is already a problem, but there is more to it. It has positioned itself in one of the worst possible places. An absolutely enormous crocodile, with a belly as big as any of the villagers have ever seen, has crawled out of the river. There is a big problem. It has laid itself down in the passage the villagers have made to let water flow from the Nile to their farms. The crocodile is blocking almost all of the water now, meaning their crops are not getting enough water. Some women go to the river to wash their clothes. There they spot the giant creature. They are in shock, but then they make a disturbing discovery. After taking a better look, they see the crocodile is blocking their water supply. The women immediately turn to Michael to figure out a solution. Michael immediately springs into action. There is no time to lose. It is a miracle this giant animal has ended up in this place. Michael can now also see for himself that almost every movement this giant crocodile makes seems to be in slow motion. A lot of options are discussed between the villagers, and one of the most prominently suggested ideas is to kill the animal and get everybody to help move it afterward. But Michael is very much against this. From a young age, Michael has been taught the value of life, and killing this abnormally large crocodile would be an unnecessary waste in his eyes. Luckily, Michael knows exactly who to contact for this problem. A couple of weeks ago, a visitor had come to the city to discuss how they dealt with problems involving wild animals. This conversation now comes in very handy. This man could help Michael save this giant crocodile. The man is a wildlife conservationist and had tried to convince them to avoid killing large and rare animals as much as possible. He had advised them that if they really had a problem, they should call him first. So that is what Michael does. He calls the man to ask for his help. The wildlife conservationist named Jason has come to Sudan from the UK and is tasked with preserving the lives of rare animals as much as possible. However, the villagers cannot wait that long to get their water supply back. They need to do something now. With the news that Jason will not be able to make it in time, the idea of killing the crocodile is back on the table. Jason begs and pleads with them to let the animal live, even promising to send additional food packages to the village as a reward. Killing this animal would be a short-term solution, but Michael never thinks that way. Michael is a person who can oversee situations well and thinks about long-term consequences. After some convincing, the villagers reluctantly agree with Michael. But now that they have decided to save the animal, one big question remains. How? Jason can only be in the village in 2 days, which is too long to wait. They have to think of another solution. Jason gets the leading vet of the gator world in the US on a video call with Michael. This way, they can show her the animal, and she can hopefully advise them on what to do next. Michael starts walking around the animal, filming it so that the vet can examine it as best as possible. After taking a good look at the crocodile, the vet quickly identifies the problem. Its stomach has a very unnatural bulge, and based on where the bulge is located, she determines that something is most likely blocking the entrance to the crocodile's stomach. The crocodile has likely swallowed something it cannot digest, making it very sick and unable to move. It simply has no energy left. But what has this crocodile swallowed, and what can Michael and the other villagers do to solve this problem? The vet informs Michael that the only way to save this animal is to remove the object from its stomach. Someone will have to carefully cut the crocodile open and extract the object. This is a very dangerous job. Michael tells the other villagers what the vet has said, and he immediately feels the eyes of everyone in the village land on him. He knows that none of them are willing to take this risk, and he cannot blame them. Michael will have to do it himself. The villagers gather ropes to tie up the mouth, cloth to cover its eyes, and stakes to pin its body down. When Michael feels it is safe enough, he gets to work. The vet is still on video, giving him instructions. With a sterilized knife, Michael makes the first small incision. Luckily, the crocodile barely reacts. After 2 more cuts, he gains access to the stomach. To his shock, an old blue football emerges. Nobody in the village is missing a ball. Who knows how long it has been blocking the crocodile's stomach? Michael quickly stitches up the crocodile while villagers lay out a trail of fish to lure it back to the river. To everyone's relief, the crocodile slowly follows, freeing up the water supply. Michael calls Jason to share the good news, and Jason promises to send a load of extra food and supplies as a thank you for the effort. Everyone in the village was overjoyed when Michael told them the good news. Michael had risked his life for this endeavor, but it had all worked out in the end in the best way possible. His village was much better off than before, and he had very much strengthened his position as their leader. The crocodile is swimming in the river again, and the animal is in good condition.